Hush-a-bye, don't you cry. Go to sleep, little baby. When you wake, we'll have cake and all the pretty little horses. Go to sleep, little baby. So I often sing lullabies to my yoga students at the end of class because I figured out some years ago that I could get them to relax so fast by singing rather than talking them through a relaxation. And oftentimes after class, they come up to me and they share, they say, God, when you sang to us, it just touched me so deeply. I haven't felt that in a really long time. And I think the reason for both those things, the fact that it works quickly and the fact that it touches us deeply, is that singing is innate. That before we speak, we sing. Before we know our first word, we sing, Ma, becomes mama. And the scientific community is in agreement that probably we have sung since the beginning of humankind. And Stephen Mithrin talks about this in his great book, The Singing Neanderthal. So that means we have been singing for over 2 million years around the world, throughout time, mostly in groups, pretty much every day. For work, for play, for celebration, for ceremony. That is until about 150 years ago, when we gradually stopped singing. So what happened? How did we go from something so intrinsic to being human to where we are today, where most of us, we don't sing every day. We might sing once in a while, especially if there's alcohol involved. And in fact, many people that I speak with, maybe the majority, I would say, are a little embarrassed by their singing voice. So why is that? Before we get into that, I have a question for all of you. At some point in your life, did someone let you know you had a lousy voice? Yes. Or somehow to just kind of encourage you to put a lid on it? Yeah. Well, this is super common. I would say more often than not, people tell me these stories. And this happened to me. I had my own version. So for me, it was Mrs. Ross' second grade class, last day of school before the Christmas holidays, and 25 of us second graders standing up at the front with our Santas and our reindeer around the room and our little stockings on our desks. So excited because Christmas was almost here. Singing with abandon, Frosty the Snowman. I look up, I see Mrs. Ross looking at me. And she points and she says, Anne. And she does this. Can you believe it? So I got the message, I stopped, and I didn't start again until I was almost out of college. And then just through sheer chance, I discovered in college that I had a reasonably good voice and a passion for singing. And I became a professional singer. So much for Mrs. Ross. Yay. So back to what happened. Well, how did we go from doing something every day together for 2 million years to feeling embarrassed? Well, there's one thing that happened, and I find this pretty interesting. It was the invention of the phonograph in 1877. And up to that time, most people were making their own music and singing their own songs. But with the phonograph, they could actually purchase the singing of a trained professional and bring that into their home for their own enjoyment and the enjoyment of their friends. So at that point, we started relegating singing to the professionals. And there was another thing that was a little bit more gradual, the sort of the overarching arch of modernity. And some scholars, like philosopher Marshall McLuhan, hypothesized that for much of humankind, we are an auditory culture. And gradually, with the arc of modernity, we moved into a more visual culture. So obviously, singing is not going to be as central when we switch from an auditory culture to a visual culture. But there's some other implications that are also interesting. So these scholars, like McLuhan, they say that when a sense is predominant, that actually our experience of life is shaped by that. So when we hear, it's an immersive experience. We can't control our hearing that much. We can't close our ears the way we can close our eyes. We can focus a little bit, but not entirely. So that the act of hearing is an immersive experience. And it leads to an orientation towards life that's thought to be more focused on wholeness, on relational experiences, and on essence. By contrast, seeing is more sequential. I look at this, I look at this, I look at this. And so in a visually oriented culture, we tend to experience life, at least according to this theory, more linear, more future-directed, more segmented. So my students, when they come to me and share their life challenges, as we do, we talk a lot about this around class. What I hear about the most, about these particular times, is issues with isolation, issues with overwhelmment, and just the sheer inability to keep up the pace. And it seems to me that those issues must have something to do with this transition from a more auditory culture to a more visual culture. And of course, now we're in the technological era. We've never been more visually privileging the visual more than we are now. Now even communication is becoming largely visual, more and more so, as we text and email, use social networking. So it's not so much that one is bad and one is good. It's more an issue of how can we stay in balance. So my innovative idea is, can we take this thing that we did for 2 million years and bring it back? Can we reclaim our voice as a way of creating perhaps a little more balance, maybe mitigating some of these challenges that we're finding right now? So I mentioned to you I became a professional singer. I was invited to sing in India at a jazz festival. And at that time, this is some years ago, I started studying Indian music. And I discovered that Indian music is built on a bedrock of yogic ideas around voice and sound. And these are philosophies and practices that have been recorded in texts for over 2,000 years. Some of India's most famous texts, like the Bhagavad Gita. And they're designed to take us deeper into the various planes of human experience. So we experience life in a variety of ways, but a few of the sort of more basic ways that we can think of as life on Earth as a human being is we have a body, we're flesh and blood, yeah? We have feelings, not only emotions, but we have intuition, we have instinct, we have love. These are sort of considered the heart of humanity. We have wisdom, not just knowledge, but wisdom. We can process information of different kinds, factual, emotional, statistical, contextual, and over time we can work those bits of information into a creative idea or discerning judgment. And we have relationships. Not only do we have relationships, we need relationships with other sentient beings, be they our pets, our coworkers, or our family. I just saw this article that says that loneliness has twice the impact on our mortality as obesity. So it's not just informing our happiness, but our actual physical health. So these yogis are very clever. They found very specific, very methodical practices that could develop, deepen, awaken our experience of these dimensions of human awareness: the body, the heart, the mind, our connection to each other. And then for the traditional yogi, there would be one more plane of experience, which would be what we might call the spiritual, or the plane of consciousness itself. So I started studying these, and after time I started sharing them with other people. And I was amazed, and I still am, at how quickly and dramatically people respond to some of these practices. So I wanted to share some with you. They're really easy. They work really fast. Are you game? Yeah. So I want you to just put your hand on your sternum. We always start with the easiest thing first. So we're going to start with feeling the body. I just want you to do this. Ah. Excellent. And you can feel that. It's palpable, right? So now you're going to put your hand here, and you're going to say, A. Good. Now I'm going to do something, and then I'm going to ask you to do it with me. So just listen to this. I. And as you do it, I want you to feel what happens to that buzz in your chest. With me? I. So what happens? It moves, right? It moves up and down. Now, if we had more time, we could go through all the vowels, and we could all go through all the consonants, and you would see every single one of them vibrate in your body differently, create a different bodily experience, which means that singing and conversation and language itself is actually a bodily experience. So moving on to the heart, we're going to take that same ah, and we're just going to change the pitch. So I'm going to do it, and then you're going to do it with me. Ah. Go ahead and try that. Ah. 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 You guys are great. So we didn't do that long enough to really constitute a full-fledged emotion. But I think that you could feel that in just that little bit of tonality, that bit of melody, there was sort of a rise and fall of the heart. Could you feel that? So we're going to do it just one more time. And now we're going to go into the realm of the mind. The language is in the realm of the mind. So we haven't sung a word yet. We're going to sing a word. And the word is Ananta. Ananta means bliss. So every time you say Ananta, you're going to direct the mind to bliss. And you can, right now, think of a blissful time you can call on. We do the same thing using Ananta. So me first, you follow. Ananta, 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 bliss, 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 Ananta, Ananta, Ananta. Wonderful. I wish we had another 6 hours. Because people do this, not for 2 minutes, but they'll do it for hours. In fact, in India, they'll do it for days. So if you can imagine chanting Ananta for days, you're going to be feeling pretty blissful. Yeah? And at the same time, we had a shared experience. We raised our individual voice into a single voice. So even if you never spoke to the person next to you again, there's this feeling of belonging to something greater than yourself, even in this simple act of singing together. So it's easy. You're all singing, yeah? Now we know we can all sing. It's easy. It's fast. It's portable. You'll never leave it in the back of your car. And it's free. And it makes you feel better. Why wouldn't we sing? So as I leave you today, I ask you to sing. Sing every day. Sing as if your life depended on it. Sing as if you were born to sing, because you were. Thank you.